What's up, everyone? How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to be bringing you another season preview and prediction. We're going to be doing the Los Angeles Lakers, so without further ado, let's get into it. So their 2019-20 recap, obviously they won the championship, and that's kind of why I delayed doing this season preview and prediction for so long, because it's kind of boring. They won the championship, and they honestly got better this offseason. Addressing a few of their problems this year, they weren't great when LeBron was off the court, and they weren't the deepest team. They really relied on their top two guys, Anthony Davis and LeBron James, who, depending on your rankings, two top five guys in my opinion. And yeah, they were relying on a lot of role players like Rajon Rondo, the center rotation of JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Alex Caruso. They were just relying on a lot of not veteran role player type guys, and I think they replaced all of those guys with upgrades. So let's look at what they did this offseason. And the first one, which was a major upgrade, they signed or traded for Dennis Schroeder from the Oklahoma City Thunder, who I think is a major upgrade over Rajon Rondo, who played good for them down the stretch of the playoffs last year. But Dennis Schroeder is definitely going to help that problem that they had where whenever LeBron isn't on the court, this team's offense kind of falls off a cliff. Even with how good Anthony Davis is, he's not a creator offensively. He's not going to create for other guys. He's not bad at creating his own shot, but he's not good at, he's better when other people can set him up. And Dennis Schroeder can do that. Dennis Schroeder's a good playmaker, really good at getting in the teeth of the defense, probing around. He has a good mid-range and floater game. He's turned himself into a really consistent three-point shooter. He shot his best percentage last year, and he's continuing that this year. He's just been really efficient and really good in the minutes he plays for them, even when LeBron isn't on the court. So I think this is a really good addition, and it's a legit third guy that they can add to this team. I know the three guys aren't that big anymore, and he's not a star. He's a six-man before that. That's what he was most known for. But I think he's a really good player and a really high-quality player to have next to those two guys. So I really like Dennis Schroeder for this team. Free agents, they signed Marc Gasol, who from Toronto Raptors, and once again, I really, really like him for this team. He's just a really good player to have around other stars because of his ability to pass for a big man. He's just really smart. He does a lot of things that doesn't show up on the box score. Really good screen setter. Just good at being in the right place at the right time, rotation-wise, so that no one's left open. That might not show up because he's not the one actually defending and blocking shots or whatever, but he's going to be there. And you could he's just a winning type player for them. And he's a really good passer also, can kind of stretch the floor. He's kind of fallen off a cliff there. Offensively, I don't think he's going to be great. He's just older now, so he's slower, not as athletic. He's never really athletic, but you know what I mean? It's just harder for him to score like he used to inside and shooting the ball sometimes. I think he could still be a good three-point shooter for them, but I think defensively he's going to be really good. Passing the ball, he's going to be really good. And you already seen it. He's had a couple 12, 8, and 7 games. I think that was one game. I think that's the highlights you're looking at. So yeah, I think he's just a really smart player and good player to have. Another player they signed, Montrezl Harrell from the Los Angeles Clippers, who is another big man, but in a much different sense than Marc Gasol. I really like the signings they made. I'm not a huge Montrezl Harrell fan. I just feel like players like that aren't super useful. He's mostly just an energy guy, so you don't want to really pay an energy guy. And he's athletic, so he's not great at anything on the court. I think he's pretty skilled for a big man, but he isn't a creator. He's not really a shooter, not a great defender. So I don't love him, but they're not paying him a lot. And in the position he's in, he's going to play limited minutes. And in those limited minutes, he's going to be an energy guy. So I really like it. It's just the perfect role for him, I think. You're not going to ask him to defend guys like the Clippers did in the playoffs last year against Jokic, where he was picked apart. And you're not going to ask him to be a consistent option for you. He's what he was offensively. He's gonna be what he was for the Clippers, a 6-man type guy, and he's gonna be able to carry the load when LeBron and AD aren't on the court. And I think he actually can fit with AD pretty well, just because he's very skilled and he's undersized, but AD makes up for a lot of that at the 4 when he's at the 5. So I like the Montrezl Harrell signing. Not my favorite player, but for this team, I think it fits really well. And then another player, Wesley Matthews, signed from the Milwaukee Bucks. I think another veteran minimum. And he's one of those guys I really like. He's like Langston Galloway to me. Just that type of guy where you only have to play him 15 minutes if he's playing decent. Like, he's going to give you good defense and pretty good shooting, but if he's having a hot night, you can play him 30 minutes and it's all the same. Like, he just knows his place in the league. He's a role player. He's going to do his role. He's not going to try to do too much when he's given the ball. He's going to shoot open threes, move the ball when he has to, play good defense. And I just really like guys like that on this team. So, yeah, just another guy you can give 20 minutes to during the playoffs even. So, I like Wesley Matthews, and he's going to replace some of the minutes you were giving to more questionable players that you had last year. Like, as much as I like KCP, he is inconsistent, and I think Wesley Matthews is more like consistent than him. So, yeah, I like the Wesley Matthews signing. Just another guy you can slot there. So leaving this team, Dwight Howard signed with the Philadelphia 76ers, which once again, I think you're going to miss a little bit of like his big interior presence. Like, that was a big thing with this team at some points in the year where they were just massive compared to other teams, and their pure size and athleticism at like the center position just was too much for some teams. Like, they had AD, Dwight Howard, and JaVale McGee, who are all like leapers, big dudes, just like athletic big men. And they did lose that, but I think what they're getting back with Montrez and Marc Gasol is a lot more skill at that position. And as much as Marc Gasol is like slower than them, he's, I think, overall a better defender. So I don't think they're losing much. And then another center, as we just talked about, they lost him, JaVale McGee, to the Cleveland Cavaliers, which very similar to Dwight Howard. McGee even more so, because I feel like he was honestly a lot of what Montrez did. He was just like an energy guy to start the game off. Like, if you watched them in the playoffs, they would like start him for like the first 5, 6, 7 minutes of the game, and then he'd rarely touch the court again. Like, he was not actually a starter for them. He would just start the game off for them because he did have high energy. Maybe he was good at the tip, I don't know, but he's like, yeah, mostly an energy guy, and he's playing pretty well for the Cavaliers, so I think it was fine letting him walk. And then the last player, Avery Bradley, who they let sign with the Miami Heat, which this one is a little tougher because I think it would have been nice to have him just because of his on-ball defense. I think he was their best on-ball defender against other guards, but he didn't even play for them in the championship run, so it's not a huge deal. It would have just been another piece that would have been nice to have. Like, let's say you have a series against like Donovan Mitchell or like the Nuggets and Jamal Murray's going off. It would have been nice to have a guy like Avery Bradley to throw on him, but either way, like, they have Wesley Matthews and they have guys who can replace his minutes, and he didn't even play for them in the championship run, so I think they'll be fine there. So looking at who's staying on this roster, KCP, as we talked about, like I said, rotation guy. He is similar to Wesley Matthews in the sense where when he's hitting his shots, you can play him more minutes, but when he's not, you just slot him in for those 20. He'll shoot threes pretty consistently, has some creation ability, like off the dribble on closeouts, so like when the defense is focusing on LeBron or AD, he can attack. Pretty good defensively. He has some length for his position, and he's pretty good against other guards, but nothing like crazy. Yeah, just pretty good rotation player to have. Another player, Alex Caruso, who I believe is probably the best on-ball defender on this team. He's just a pretty good defender overall, off-ball and on-ball, and I think he can guard like 1 through 3 pretty easily. And he has a little bit of strength and length at the 2 or 3 spot wherever you play him. And offensively is the question. He shoots inconsistently. He shot kind of well during the end of the playoff run, but he's definitely one of those guys who's better with the ball in his hands. He's actually good at driving to the rim, finishing around the rim. He's a pretty crafty finisher, and he's surprisingly athletic. He can dunk over some people sometimes. So yeah, I like Alex Caruso. I think as he grows his 3-point shooting, I think he'll be even more valuable for them, and then he can maybe be like a bench creator for them whenever LeBron and AD are off court. The more he develops that. So looking at another player, Talen Horton-Tucker, who's like the story of their preseason game, and he's a little bit like Caruso in the sense where they both are probably better with the ball in their hands. They're just not good enough to be like the guy with the ball in their hands, because obviously you have LeBron and AD on this team, but yeah, he's good at getting to the rim. Not fast, but like very smart, plays angles, really long arms. Like, he has, I forget the wingspan, but it's a pretty crazy wingspan. So defensively, I think he has a lot of potential. And he's shot the ball pretty well so far this year. So I think as long as he could be a 3-point shooter and a defender with his wingspan, he'll find minutes on the court. And with his creation ability, I think he could be a good bench guy for them. So Talen Horton-Tucker, pretty good young player for them. And he's only 20, so he could develop a lot more. And then another player, Kyle Kuzma, who they signed to, I think it was like a 4-year, $50 million contract, something like that. Wasn't crazy. Pretty good deal for him. He was inconsistent last year. He definitely improved his defense. He actually was a pretty good defender for them, which was something that I didn't expect him to do. I thought he was going to be a bad defender. But once he was on a winning team, he showed that he could be a pretty good defender. And offensively, he was inconsistent. People thought he was going to be like the third guy with AD and LeBron. He wasn't that. On nights he was, but he wasn't that consistently. But yeah, as long as he can shoot like 35% from three, create a little bit, and play pretty good defense, I think he'll be a good piece for them. And then one more role player, Markieff Morris, and he got signed to a very good contract. I think $2 million was a minimum, where his brother got a $60 million contract. And obviously, two different players, but they are similar. And I just don't see why the Clippers signed him. But that's a different story. Markieff Morris, very similar to a lot of these guys. 3-point shooting, not the greatest defender, but he plays hard, and he's an enforcer in the sense that he'll fight you if you mess with one of the players. Like yesterday, the Lakers were playing the Rockets, and DeMarcus Cousins bumped him, and he was ready to fight like right then and there. The Morris twins are there for it, just so you know. But anyway, yeah, just a rotation 4 or 3 for them. Can rebound pretty well, can play small ball with Davis. So yeah, just like a good rotation guy to have to switch up the lineups if you want to play small ball. And then getting into the two stars of this team, Anthony Davis, who, as we know, great player, could be an MVP candidate, Defensive Player of the Year candidate, one of the best defenders in the league, rim protectors, can switch pretty well, very athletic for his size, very fluid. Offensively, he is one, if not, I think he is probably the best lob threat ever. He's just has such a wide range that he could catch the ball and he could finish in multiple ways, and he's so athletic with his leaping ability and his long arms. And then creating-wise, he's become a much better three-point shooter, and Vogel's kind of emphasizing that he shoots more threes this year. So he's been doing that. There was one game where he attempted 10 threes, and we'll see how that goes. I think his percentage will probably be pretty bad, but just him shooting it more so is good for the playoffs, so he's more comfortable doing that. And yeah, I think the only thing is maybe he could grow to be more of a creator, so that LeBron doesn't have to carry that load so much, and that maybe they could stay a pretty good offense when it's just AD on the court. But right now he's a top 5 player and one of the best, if not probably, the best center in the league. So we all know Anthony Davis is great. And then LeBron James, 36 years old and still the best player in the league, can understand the game at a level that's incomprehensible. Always finds the open man, always makes the right basketball play. His shooting could improve. Hasn't been shooting great this year, and he was inconsistent last year. He's been inconsistent his whole career, and maybe that's just, he's 36, so there's not much development happening left. But yeah, I think the only thing I would say is he could shoot a little better from 3 and free throw line. He only shot like 68% from 3 for the free throw line last year, so could improve that and his 3-point shooting. But besides that, he's the best player in the league and the second or best player of all time. So we all know LeBron James and how great he is. So predicting this team, I don't really have much to say. They have the best duo in the league with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. That was enough to win them the championship last year, and they got deeper this offseason. So I think they are pretty large favorite to win the championship this year, and I would be surprised if they didn't. That's my prediction. They're going to be the 2020-2021 NBA champions. So let me know what you think in the comment sections below. Like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.